Final Destination Bloodlines, aka Final Destination 6, aka we're still making these. Yes, of course we're still making these. Why would you say it like that? I love Final Destination. Then again, I love horror films. Who doesn't, right? People who are scared easily, of course. But people who like to be scared can see the fun behind these films. It's very Rube Goldberg. And if you don't know who Rube Goldberg is, I'll explain that to you later. Let's just go right into Final Destination Bloodlines, aka Final Destination 6, which came out over the weekend. Plagued by a violent and recurring nightmare, a college student heads home to track down the one person who might be able to break the cycle of death and save her family from the grisly demise that eventually awaits them all. That being death, of course. The actors include Caitlin Santa Juana, Richard Harmon, and other people that you may not know, except for Tony Todd. And if you don't remember Tony Todd, he is Candyman. He was in also several of the Final Destinations. He basically plays the harbinger of the Final Destinations. This film was directed by Zach Lipovsky, who directed Leprechaun Origins. That's the only Leprechaun that didn't have Warwick Davis. Check out the trailer. I'll wait for you. Watch the trailer, Leprechaun Origins. That looked weird, right? Apparently it's terrible. I'm very interested. Anyways, this was also directed by Adam Stein. Now, these two have directed a lot of films together. By a lot of films, I mean a lot of stuff together. One film is called Freaks, which you can watch on Netflix right now. I am interested in it because the rating was fair, and they're making a sequel pretty soon. And I think after this film, they're going to get some money off of it, because I think this film is doing rather well. It won't do better this week because Mission Impossible is coming out. But guess what else they did? The live-action 2019 film, Kim Possible. Am I in the Mandela effect? I totally forgot that they did that. Of course, I didn't watch it, and I hear it sucks. In any case, they did that, and they also did this film. So, what did we think of it? Let's turn now to Bucky. Bucky, how you doing today? Looks like you're doing pretty good. Okay, Bucky, do me a favor. Let the people know. What do we think of this movie? Looks like it's surprisingly popping. Thank you very much, Bucky. I appreciate your time. That's right. It wasn't that surprising that it was popping, but it was definitely better than I had thought it was going to be. Pros, great central event. The Skyview building that collapses in the 1970s, I believe. I go more into it later. Wild event. Very shocking. A lot of build-up, too. And it's kind of the opening scene, but it takes like 14 minutes for you to get there because you're kind of like looking around the building, getting the goose pimples. It's really, really dope. It is sick, scary, and suspenseful. Seeing this in the theater is awesome. I'm going to repeat that a few times. This is definitely a movie theater watch. Fantastic deaths. Specifically, the hospital MRI machine. So when they're in the if you haven't seen it yet, when they're in the hospital, there's an MRI machine scene. Look out for it. It's dope. There's a backyard scene that you know has something to do with a shard of glass and a barbecue. That's all I'll say. But the film is funny, and it is fun. And it plays with the audience about what you think is going to happen. So we all remember Final Destination's 1's infamous bus plowing scene, right? If I ruined it for you, trust me, you won't see it coming. Actually, I lied. You will see it coming because this was the OG. A lot of times you see people talk like this, get really pissed off, walk out to the middle of the street, and then they're hit by a car, usually a bus. Final Destination 1 was basically the first film to do this. Meet Joe Black was another film that made it more popular. It was a lot less surprising these days because whenever you see a character in the street and they're usually screaming, they're going to get hit by some sort of vehicle. They play with that in this. You see it in other films, but there's a lot of times in this movie where you think you know what's going to happen. The music plays, and then nothing happens. It's a lot of fun, and they do it a few times in this. They know their audience, and I dig that. They pull the rug from you. You shout at the screen for surprising scenes that happen throughout the film. There are so many oohs, there were so many ahs, and there were a ton of holy shits. I love that in a movie theater when you can actually feel something. Me, I was literally being like, oh, shit! Made me feel. Made my heart palpitate. And that's what you need from a good movie in a movie theater or at home. See it in the movie theater, but there are some cons. Only a few, though. I get we're in a new age of Final Destinations, but I didn't like how different this was from the others. Sure, it's been many years. Let's change it up, be a little more surprising. They sort of abandoned intervening, which is a huge part of the Final Destination mythology. If you don't remember, in the first film, Devon Sawa and his crew are trying to intervene. And when they find out that they intervene, and by that I mean they see a death that's about to occur, they save that person, death skips over that person. No spoilers. They don't do that in this movie. They're just trying to figure out how to stop it, which granted, of course, yeah, let's stop people from dying, but they should have talked about intervention a little bit. Not intervention for alcoholics or addicts. I'm talking about intervening from deaths. They don't mention it, and that was kind of annoying. They just try to prolong everything. Many scenes made me sort of feel uninterested in what was going on. There are so many scenes. So the Skyview opening is really enthralling, but once you stick with the main actress in the film, the main character, the actress is very good in it, but you kind of get lost in the sauce and like, I don't really care what's going on. And the whole Bloodlines storyline of death following your entire family tree because you weren't supposed to be alive in the first place because the original was supposed to die in Dev's design. I get it. It's slightly interesting, but they talked about it a lot, which is why they did quality over quantity, meaning a lot of the Final Destinations have a lot of deaths because that's what people are going to the movie theater for. This doesn't have many deaths. Not a huge complaint because the quality of the deaths that happen in this film are fairly good. There does come a certain point, though, where you really stop caring. Like I said, the MRI machine scene is the best death, maybe of the entire series, because it's fucking sick. Once that happens, there's an upcoming climax for the rest of the characters. And that shit is boring in comparison. It's like the directors gave it to someone else, like the AD, and was like, here, you can finish it off. And they're like, yay! And don't worry, the movie doesn't end terribly. It's just the other deaths that happen are kind of like, it's okay. Now, on the Popo-meter, what do we give it? That seemed like a lot of cons, but I was pretty hype about the pros. And don't worry, the pros still overtake the cons. Meaning, this movie is popping. It's just because of those cons, I couldn't give it a large buttery popcorn. I could only give it a medium with butter, but a medium with butter. It would have been a large if the story was a little more interesting and the concept of Bloodlines without comparing to the rules of the firsts is whatever, but it negates the new life thing in 2. And by that, Final Destination 2, they're trying to break Dev's design after Tony Todd's William Bloodworth explains that new life will break the design. That might not be a direct quote, but they're basically trying to get someone that's pregnant to have their kid. They abandon it completely for reasons I won't get into. But that is kind of what's happening in this movie. New lives are happening, and death is trying to kill all those lives. But I thought that new life would break death's design. So if someone wants to explain that to me, feel free to message me or leave a comment below. In any case, still worth seeing, still a medium with butter. Go to the movie theaters to watch it.